Hey, my beautiful listeners, we are back with season 3 of The Beautiful Side of Grief, and I'm your host, Helen Morris. My incredible guests continue to share their own personal stories of grief in so many different forms, and how they have managed to find the positives and beauty from their experiences. And I hope by listening to these honest, heartfelt accounts, you can find the tips, insights, resources, and strategies you need for where you are right here and now. And maybe one day even find your own beautiful side to your grief. So share away, as I would love this podcast to reach as many who need to hear it as possible. And don't forget to check out the episode notes as well for more information and links. Plus, the energy healing I do that changed my life forever. And this season, I'd love to share the affirmations and meditations I'm working on also, so stay tuned for those. Right now, though, my thanks to you for listening in, and let's check out who this week's guest is. Okay, raise your hand if you want to find your way back to happiness. Fantastic, because I have the perfect guest today who's going to share with you how she used her own tools and intuition to do it in a way that is now having a massive impact on a soul level globally. Marie Alessi unexpectedly lost her husband and father to their 2 boys in June 2018 to a brain aneurysm. To make matters worse, he was out of town on business when it happened. Yet, the strong, courageous mum picked herself up to go on and write a book, Loving Life After Loss, about her experience of moving to Australia, meeting, marrying, and losing Rob, and how she coped and found empowerment throughout her journey. She has since founded a movement with the same title as her book, Loving Life After Loss. And with empathy and understanding, she gently picks up her clients from where they are at, with a whole lot of respect for their very unique journey. She is a woman after my own heart, with her insatiable desire to heal the world from grief through choosing love over falling apart. Her wonderful perspective on grief is both uplifting and inspiring. So, the intention I'm setting for this episode is to leave you feeling empowered to honor your own needs and space in dealing with your grief. And as always, I send you love, light, hope, and happiness to support you on this journey. So it is an absolute pleasure, and I am so excited to speak with you today, Marie. I feel we're on the same wavelength when it comes to how we process grief, so thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Helen. It is such a delight to hear this intro read by somebody to me. I feel always really humbled when somebody reads an intro about me, and it's really beautiful. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction.
Oh, you're so welcome. And it's all the work you've been doing, so you deserve to be hearing that back and feeling,
Thank you.
I can sit back and feel really proud of what I'm doing. So I thought we could just start, and I know everybody starts with this, but I want to start by understanding what happened with your beautiful Rob, your husband, and how that initially impacted you. And you had a love that was larger than life and continuing to grow. So to suddenly have him taken from you must have been a huge deal.
It was certainly a huge deal. Yes, absolutely. That's not an understatement. You know, Rob was on a business trip in Perth. That's 5 hours flight away from us. And we were lucky in such that the boys and I walked him to the station when he flew out. And Rob would often catch the train to the airport because it's just so much easier. We live 200 meters walk away from the station, right in the middle of the national park. It's such a beautiful walk, you know, to go to that little station, catch a train right to the airport, not have to worry about parking. It's stress-free for him. And it was beautiful for us because he left on a Sunday. So the boys were home. We could walk to the station. And I hope we have enough time. I want to share this very quickly.
Yes.
It was really a very bizarre moment when we walked to the station. Usually my little one got very emotional when Rob left, and my older one was quite, you know, he doesn't show emotion as much. So he was, the big boy and grown up when Dad left, and it was all good. That day, my older one cried as well. And it really got to me. I thought, this is so bizarre. Why is Flynn crying? You know, it was so apparent to me that it was something different, to the point that I said to Rob, come on, I'll take a couple of pictures of you and the boys. I took a few photos of him and the boys. And I even took a photo of the train leaving. And it was awkward because these were the exact photos that I used to make the announcement 3 days later that Rob had passed. So it was just a very bizarre moment to have that. And I often thought, you know, of course you have these thoughts. Could I have saved him if he was home, etc. But on the other hand, now with everything that we have lived through and healed through, I truly feel it was a blessing in disguise that it didn't happen in our house, that those weren't memories left in the house that we had to deal with on a daily basis, if that makes sense. And it was completely unexpected. Rob was in the prime of his life, 45, super healthy. He was a surfer. And within a split second, he was gone. A brain aneurysm, you know, it was nothing that anybody could have foreseen. Not even when we got the post-mortem report. Our doctor sat through it with me. She was so beautiful. She said, Marie, if it's of any consolation to you, nothing could have indicated that this was about to happen. Nothing. So yeah, that was our story in a nutshell. It was very unexpected.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for you and your family, but I'm so excited for what then follows. At what stage did you make the decision that grief was going to look different for you and your boys?
I have to say that this decision happened very, very early. I believe, looking back now, I might have not been completely aware of it because obviously there was quite some, I call it functioning mode. My brain literally went into functioning mode after I got this phone call, and it went like, hey, what do I have to do? The first thing I knew I had to do was to tell the boys. I did not want that to be on any other priority list than number one. They were to be the first ones to have to know. And it was obviously the most confronting thing and the hardest thing I ever had to do in my entire life, I have to say. And telling them, and the reaction, the waves that hit me after that, I had 3 seconds to prepare for that. And in those 3 seconds, I knew that'd be tears. I knew it'd be devastating. I knew it'd be hard. But I was not prepared for the screaming. That is really something that got to me the most, that there was screaming. There was really that primal hurt. And that still makes me very emotional now when I just think about it. It was really, really intense. Yet my older son, and you have to understand, my boys were only 10 and 8 at this stage, you know, my older son said to me, who's going to look after us now? I still remember they both had this one question. Flynn said, who's going to look after us now? And I said, I will look after us, Flynn, you know. And in hindsight, I realized how important it was for me to say that out loud, for them and for me, to actually hear myself say that and promise that. And I believe when you asked me that question, that was the moment when I promised myself that our grief will look different. I really knew that all I wanted was to create a happy life for them. And I was lucky enough that Rob and I had a couple of those conversations without knowing that this would ever become reality. For us, there was theory when we chatted about it. But, you know, things happen in life and you hear about an accident or you're stuck in traffic because there was an accident and then you hear it was fatal. And it is really devastating. Yet it is a story. It is not your life that is affected. It is a story, and it stays a story until it's you. And Rob and I took those stories and took that as an inspiration to talk about what would happen if, you know, and both of us said, I would want you to take the boys and create the happiest lives ever. We wanted that for each other because that's what love is. Love is simple. Love just wants you to be happy. And I love Rob so much, and I know that he loved me so much. He adored me, that we wanted nothing but happiness for each other. So I said, don't you dare fall into sadness if something was to happen to me. I want you to go out and meet a sexy woman and meet a beautiful wife and really just, I know it was that we half joked about it, but we really meant it. We wanted the other person to take life and be happy. And I knew that moment when Flynn asked me that that's where this theory became reality.
Yeah.
And that's what I
And I
had to do.
think, like you said, for me, it was also very, very early in the piece when I just knew there was something bigger at play and that I was going to, I guess my
Yeah.
instincts were to honor this beautiful girl that I had in my life who showed me just the most amazing unconditional love. And that's how I wanted her to remember me and be proud of me.
That's so beautiful. It gives me goosebumps when you said that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I can understand why in that moment you wanted to do the exact same thing for your boys. And how incredible that you and Rob had that conversation or those conversations, because, you know, that is
Absolutely.
something so many people don't have. They don't even talk about the what ifs. And it's not to focus on the negative, but it is.
No.
It is so lovely to know that you were on the same page about how you wanted that to look going forward.
100%. And you know what, Helen? That has helped me so many times. And I was very blessed that I was not met with a lot of judgment in my life. I'm really blessed because often I have to admit I expected more judgment than I was actually met with. Also not to be negative, but also knowing that our society teaches us very differently how to handle grief, that we are supposed to fall apart and supposed to be sad and supposed to be stuck in that. And grief is supposed to be stuck with us forever. I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe in any of that because it's not healthy and it's not happiness and it's not love. Love does want you to be happy. It's that simple. So when I put that out there, I really thought that people would judge me more for the way I was, and I wasn't. People actually really understood, yet it is a different story to understand it in theory and to really understand what this person is living through, because you don't until you do, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely. And I think it is a choice. And again, that is, I think because we're so conditioned that grief should look a certain way. You should act a certain way, it should be a certain way, it should take a certain process. Yet, you know, we're as unique as each other. And so why shouldn't our grief be like that too? I don't know about for you, but when I think back on things that made me really happy, that just fills my heart and that makes me want to smile and that makes me want to remember that person.
You say that, I couldn't agree more, Helen. It's beautiful.
So have you always had that belief system, or do you think that's something that came out of your grief?
No and no. I have a grief story that looks very different to the way I handled it. And that was when my dad passed. I was only 20. And I'm saying only 20 with a very different emotion behind it now, because back then I thought I was only 20. And now I'm thinking I'm lucky I was 20, because I'm looking at my boys. They were not even combined as old as I was when I lost my dad. So I had, 12 and 10 years more with my dad than my boys had. And it's not about comparison. And I'm saying that, I really want to highlight that, because I see a lot of comparison in grief, and I see a lot of comparison in grief groups, and comparison is not helping us. I find that a very unhealthy habit. And that's not what I'm saying it. The reason why is because my mindset, my perspective shifted so much since my dad passed. I have learned so much, and I have received so many hidden gifts. I call them hidden gifts in adversity. In every adversity, there are hidden gifts. It's just up to us if we decide to allow them in, if we decide to find them, to open our heart, our minds to them, and to accept them in. My biggest gift, I can tell you that now, in my dad's passing, was to never live with regrets, to always tell people what they mean to you, how beautiful they are in your life. And that, I'm having goosebumps all over my body saying this, that gave me the most beautiful marriage with Rob, because I lived a life with no regrets with him. I never left anything unsaid. I was a lucky one that when Rob died unexpectedly, we had no time to prepare to have these chats that some couples have. Again, not about comparing, but I'm just saying the situation that we were in. We didn't have time to prepare. It was 1 minute he was here and the next second he was gone. And I had no regrets. I did not, oh my God, I wish I said that. I wish I didn't say that. I wish I did that with Rob. I wish we would have. There was none of that. You always wish that you had more time, don't get me wrong, but there was no regret in the life that we lived together. And that is a huge gift. And now I'm thinking, this was my dad's wedding gift to us. Do you know what I mean? I really see it as such. And I'm so grateful for it. Really grateful.
Well, that's just
That's
given me
incredible.
goosebumps, because this book that I've sort of got on the back burner is entitled Here for a Good Time, Not a Long Time. Hashtag no regrets.
Oh, love it.
And the same
Yes,
thing. I
perfect.
had absolutely no regret. You know, we can all do things better and differently in hindsight. But I loved this girl with an absolute passion, and she knew that she was my absolute world. And we had the best teenage years. And so there were no regrets. So I completely understand what you were saying about no regrets. And people used to look
I can feel that wholeheartedly.
And seriously, I have never since had any regrets. And beautiful journeys and beautiful memories. And how wonderful that you took that from your dad's passing. He would be so proud of you living your life like that. And perhaps that is what the magic was with you and Rob, just everything being out in the open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Transparency.
I was also very lucky because about 7 and a bit years before Rob died, I started my own business in mindset coaching. So I had very different tools available to me in terms of mindset, in terms of shifting, in terms of seeing opportunity in adversity rather than the tragedy. And there was so much where I thought, wow, I've been teaching this. I just wanted to say all my life. It wasn't all my life. It was 7+ years before Rob died. But I've been teaching that for so long. And now it's time to, even more so than ever. Of course, I've put things like that into before Rob died, but it would really put to the test. I can tell you that when Rob died, to say, okay, so where's the perspective now? Where can I see the opportunity? Where can I embark on a journey of healing rather than, so there were a lot of those things that I have to say came in very handy. I've been teaching that for so long and now had them available to me and didn't just have to learn them from scratch, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Yes. So we talked to Mitra about you using your own tools and your intuition to guide you to find your way back to happiness so that you could be the shining example for your two boys.
Yeah.
So what tools worked for you?
One of the biggest ones, I really want to pick that one out, is shifting your perspective. That every healing has got some sort of shift of perspective in it. And for me, one of the biggest ones was our lives through my husband's perspective. So, and I still remember, like, I actually did a live video about that I still share in my courses now because it was such a spontaneous video. It was only 3 minutes where I talked about it, but I still love it now because it had so much essence in it that is so important. I remember I was sitting outside on the entertainment deck and I did a spontaneous live about if I was in Rob's shoes. And I remember put myself into his perspective and what I saw. And you'll laugh at this because Rob and I had a barefoot wedding. We had it on the beach and we both wore white and we asked all our guests to come in red and orange. And when I picture Rob, I almost every time when I have connections with him or when I have visions of him appearing and talking to me, I see him in his white wedding outfit. And in that time when I connected with him and really did that shifting perspectives, switching perspectives with him, I saw him literally skipping along an endless beach in his white wedding outfit. That's the vision I had of him. I'm like, he's in a good place. I know it. I can feel it. And I have so many stories to tell about connections, but I'm just going to leave it at the very basics here. I did this shift of perspective, looking through his eyes down to us. And I was like, I'm so freaking proud of you guys. I'm so happy with what you're doing, Marie. You know, that's all I could get. I was convinced that Rob was completely cheering me on and completely 100% on my side. And I also know that if it was me skipping up there looking down on him and the boys, that's exactly what I would want for him. And that made me really happy. it put me at ease, and it put my mind and my heart at ease and at peace. So that's all I can say. It's a very basic, very simple, not always easy to use, but very important tool to shift your perspective and really look at yourself from your loved one's perspective. Because again, love just wants you to be happy, it's that simple.
Yes. And that's such a great perspective because, like you say, I believe that when loved ones transition, they actually are transitioning to this beautiful, beautiful place that's
I believe that
just
too.
exists in love,
Yeah,
and there is
just
no
love
judgment
and
there.
peace
And
exactly.
so,
Yeah.
yes, so it's us that are suffering. So if we can
Yes.
see that they are actually at peace and happy and actually I'm a little bit envious of of them at times. But if we can think about that, then it does shift your perspective. I mentioned earlier, I just wanted my girl to be proud of me, and that's drove
so
a lot
beautiful.
of my actions.
I'm sure she is. Like, how could you not look at you, what you're doing now? It's incredible. I want to say one thing quickly, because what you just said is so important. I actually want to highlight what you just said, and that is, when our loved ones transition, I share that same belief with you. And I'm not sure if you read this book or not, but for anyone listening to this who's not quite sure what to imagine, what to expect, there's this absolutely amazing, beautiful book by Anita Moriarty that is called Dying to Be Me. I knew you would have read it. I just felt it. And she has this moment. So the whole book is about sharing her near death and a decision that she made while she was transitioning and about to die. And a decision that she made that it was not her time yet. Her dad, who passed 10 years prior, actually met her there and said, it's not your time yet. And she didn't want to go back because her body was cancer ridden and she was in pain. Yet she had this experience, and she experienced this absolute bliss of peace and love and just this all-knowing and understanding everything in life made sense to her, including what caused her cancer. And that's when she decided she would come back and heal it. And within 3 weeks, she was cancer-free. So that's a whole summary of the book. But for those who are not really quite sure what to think about, this has really helped me. And her description of what heaven looked like, or what the other side looked like, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's faith is different. I totally accept that. That really helped me. And that's how, that peace and in love, and you understand everything and see and hear everything. And it was just beautiful. So when people struggle with the concept of guilt, then I'll say to them, the guilt only exists in your life. It doesn't exist over there. Really understand that. And I often use the comparison of the tug of war. When two people are holding on to a rope, it only burns and hurts when you're holding on. When you let go, it doesn't hurt anymore. And the thing is that the people on the other side, they have already let go. So you may as well too. It really is that simple. We so overcomplicate the concept of guilt. There is no holding on anymore. The other side has passed over. They have let go. The minute they are on the other side, there's just love and peace. There is no guilt. So it really is that simple. We overcomplicate it with our human way of thinking. There is no reason to feel guilt. None whatsoever. None. So I just wanted to highlight that because it's so beautiful.
Yes. And it just made me, as you were speaking there, it just made me remember that very early on in losing Tal, I made that decision that actually the worst would happen to me. So bring it on. I don't really mind what anybody else thinks, what anybody else. This is about me and my journey, and I will take full responsibility for it. But I am going to live my life going forward how I want to. And that was the most free thing I ever did in my life.
I cannot imagine.
It was like you were saying about hidden adversity, because like I always say that out of the worst has come the best for me. And I truly believe that. And sometimes we have to go through these really tough experiences to be able to see something really, really precious on the other side of it. So Talking of precious,
Yeah.
I want to talk
Yes.
about your book, Loving Life After Loss, which has become a
Yeah.
#1 bestseller, and it
Yeah.
instantly rose to the top 100 in Australia overnight on
I
releasing
was
it.
so gobsmacked.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
so gobsmacked when that happened. I just could not believe it. The lady who helped me with the publishing, she's like, Marie, you hit Australia. You're ranking, I think it was number 61. And I still remember it so vividly. You'll love this
Mm.
because Michelle Obama, with her book Becoming, was on space number 16. I'm like, hey, we're number buddies. I'm 61, you're 16, and we're off the same list. And I'm like, I wish I would have taken a screenshot. Like, I was just so gobsmacked when that happened. And of course, I had to buy her book. And ever since, I feel like Michelle and I are buddies. But anyway, she has no idea who I am. But it was absolutely incredible, an absolutely incredible, absolutely unexpected experience. Yeah, when that happened, I was just so blown away. I was like, babe, I know that's you. I know you've got your hand in this. This is incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He says, we're going to make this shine. And did you expect it to be
Yeah.
impacting so many people?
Not at this stage, to be honest. Not at this stage at all. Like when I shared the story, it was more like a love legacy for Rob and, for the boys to be able to read our story one day, but also I knew that I was handling grief differently. And I remember I was working with a positive psychologist for about 4 months after Rob died. And I remember saying to her, we were talking about expectations of others and how others expect me to just fall apart. And I didn't. I mean, I did to a certain extent, and it's not to justify, I did that anyway. It was just that I had made different decisions and that I had made different plans for how I wanted to live my life and how I wanted to work through my grief and how I wanted to be a shining example for the boys. So saying that, I said to her, you know what? I think I need to write a book about this. I want to share my story. And really the intention was just to help a couple of people and shift the perspective and maybe spread some hope. I did not see what was about to happen at that stage. But when the book was published and that happened, I think about a week later, the boys and I embarked on a journey around the world. We traveled around the world for 2 months, create new happy memories. I wanted to take them away from all these first milestones and really just do something actively and see the world. And it was so beautiful. And we were in Vienna when it actually really dawned on me. And I said, you know what? I think I've got something the world needs. That is hope, that is happiness, that is healing. I need to do something about this. This is so much more than just a book. And that's where the idea for the movement was born. And about 1.5 months later, I opened the doors.
Okay, let's talk about the movement. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as I said, this was where the idea was born. All the boys went back to school and I had a meeting with a new mentor and I told him the idea that I had and he loved it. His mentor, Mark Borness, let's give him some credit here. He's all about building tribes, all about building movements. And I started working with him for about a year, maybe a year and a half. Gave me really, really great basics in terms of how to actually start a group, how to run a group. Within a couple of weeks, I had hundreds of people come in there. I really didn't, and then I remember it staggered a bit. And then towards the end of the year, the first article came out about me in Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia's got 4 million. I had no idea at this stage, I have to admit. Pardon me, if anybody from Mamma Mia is listening, I had no idea about their readership. I just shared my story. And within a day, not just say a day, I think it was about 2 weeks, I doubled the membership in the course. It was just people were coming in left, right, center. I could hardly catch up with scanning them because I was very selective on who I would let into the group. I was very protective of the group, of the energy in the group. I didn't want, the ship to fall to one side when too many people come in at once, if that makes sense. So and from there on, it was just a steep climb up, a very steady climb up, more and more media attention. And until Mamma Mia again, I had 2 articles with them. And then about not even a month ago, they reached out to me because they already knew me from my first ed and said, Marie, would you talk about dating after loss? And I was like, whoa, that's a bit confronting, but really important. And I thought in the leadership position that I had taken on in my movement, I felt that it was important to stand up for something that's important to talk about and that hardly anybody else dares to talk about. And I also know through research in other groups that there's a real need for people to hear about this and how normal that is and how important it is to share about this topic. So I did speak up about it. And the day after they said, hey, would you write a follow-up article about it? The podcast was amazing, got so much reaction. And I said, sure. So I shared an article about it. And the day after, Channel 7 News reached out to me and said, oh my God, how did we never hear about you? Can we write an article about you in the lifestyle section? And it was such a snowball effect. And I thought, this is going crazy. I'm so grateful that I had the courage to speak up about a topic that is a very touchy-feely topic, because my biggest concern was I did not want to offend Rob's family, because I'm so aware that they would all read this, and they also knew that I did have a partner after Rob. So, I knew it was a sensitive topic, but I also knew it was important to speak about it.
Share with us the beautiful analogy that you used about dating, about losing children. And because I think when I read that, I thought, yes.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. It was actually, I'm not taking credit for this. It was actually a comment that was made when the news article I can't remember whether it was a Mamma Mia article or Channel 7 News, but as you can imagine, it was like a drop of honey, and all the flies or bees were coming. It was incredible. The wave of reactions it has caused was incredible. And again, I was very positively surprised that there was hardly any judgment. I think out of literally hundreds of comments, like just on the first day when it was published, there was one negative one, only one. And that was due to different religious background. And I totally accepted that. I totally understood where he was coming from. And I said that even, I do understand that we've got a different belief and different faith in terms of how we grew up, and I fully expect that. And he left into that, which was also very cool and very beautiful, So it did not become a negative thing. It was just, okay, this is your belief, this is mine, and that was fine. But here was that comment, and that really touched me so deeply that I thought, how amazing is this? So the comment was something along those lines, that when a parent or when two parents lose a child and they work through their grief and they get to a certain amount of healing, to a state where they feel ready to have another child, because it does take time, even if you have that belief from the beginning, it still takes time. It's like a physical wound. Even when it will heal, it takes time to heal, and it takes the right treatment and the right decision. So when you have the comparison and you make the decision to have another child, and you're ready to have another child, and you're blessed enough to be able to have another child, not a sane person in their mind would ever say, how dare you have another child after the first one died, or the second or third, or whatever number the child had in your family. Not one person in their right mind would judge that at all. Everybody would come together cheering, being grateful for you, being happy for you that you were blessed to have that experience again. And it's not ever going to replace the first child that has passed, ever. It's not about that. It's a blessing. It is such a blessing. Now, when you look at that as a comparison with a new partner, unfortunately, the perspective is not the same, yet the situation has not changed. It is an absolute blessing that you have healed enough to even allow love back into your life. And it would have never happened if I wouldn't have healed to that amount where I was ready to allow love back in. I didn't realize till it actually happened that I was able to allow love back in. And then I was like, wow, what a blessing. What a blessing to be so loved and adored again. I was really beautiful. It was such a present, such a gift to me. And so many people say, but have you healed everything? Here's my take on this. And that goes for the parents as well as for the widows or widowers. There are certain things in life when it comes to grief that you only heal once you are in the new relationship, or once you do have another child. There are certain levels that you cannot heal any further until you actually relive the situation. And certainly that new relationship, when we did break up eventually, like we did actually break up after 14 months, and that had different reasons, but that's not the point here. I did relive certain elements of the loss very deeply, and it brought things back to me that still needed to be seen and healed. Yet would I have been able to heal them without that relationship? I'm not sure. But I do know that this relationship was an absolute blessing to me, absolute blessing, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Not even knowing what I know now, what happened and what I went through, I would not want to change one thing. it was a real blessing for me.
Feel about this, but I think that we're coming into an age now where we can be looking at these tricky subjects of dating and how we deal with our grief, a lot more openly, and people are wanting it. People are needing it. And I don't know about, I know you through and through are just wanting love. Like me, the most important thing in my life now is to live with love, without judgment of other people, just accept people at their level of awareness. And it's completely changed how people respond to me because I'm doing that. And that is something I've been blessed
Beautiful,
with.
isn't it?
And like you say, when you lose somebody else, yes, I believe that there are parts of you that are not ready to be healed until you have those experiences again. I just cried my heart out in a way that I never cried for my girl. Like, oh gosh, the grief was deep for her, but, I allowed myself to cry, and it was actually very cathartic and very healing.
Yeah.
So yes, and I just resonate so strongly with what you talked. So share with us, what people can expect if they are able to join your group, because you offer different things like the blank canvas and journey. So can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. It was really important for me to create different levels of support, something that was accessible for everyone, also levels that are affordable for everyone, and also levels that go really deep for those who need it. So I really looked at different levels of support from every angle. There is obviously the group that is the biggest support group in itself. Like, there is really, really full of love and support. And I'm very lucky that I have a team of moderators, my three beautiful, well, I should call them Marie's angels, seriously. My three absolute angels. They lovingly call themselves the Mod Squad. So I really love it. A team of moderators, Terry, Shalina, and Christopher. Absolute blessing, because they are from three different parts of the world. So there's always somebody on 24/7. There's always somebody alive who
Alive,
I wanted to say, not alive anyway, awake and live. That's what I wanted to say. Alive, I love it. There's always somebody live and awake at any given stage that will hold space for you, that will hear you, that will give you comfort, support. I'm very big, as I mentioned a couple of times during the interview now, for not to. So it's always a big no-no for me when somebody shares their story and then others go like, yeah, in a way that I understand you, absolutely perfect, but not in a way mine's worse because your husband was 45, while mine was 40, or mine was 39, or my kids were younger. And I'm like, can you not do this to each other? You're not helping each other. You're not helping each other. Comparison is just horrible. It does not help you heal. So I always make a big point about, you joined this space because of the title, Loving Life After Loss. You're not here for comparison. You're here to learn to love life again. You're here to heal. That's what we want to offer you. And I do understand that everybody's got different days. So I want to catch you from wherever you're at, but I don't want you to reside there. I want to guide you on a healing journey. So we created healing journeys that are now very soon. I'm actually in the moment rolling the first time. There will be a DIY healing journey on a very, very super cheap, affordable level where they can have like 3 mini modules just to get started. A longer one, the 7 steps. I call it From Grief to Relief. So the first one is Stop the Pain, like literally just 3 quick videos to just help you stop that pain because it's so hard. And that's where I talk about shifting in perspectives, healing, etc. So that's that. Then there is the 7 steps from grief to relief. That's a bit more extensive, as in everything is supported with videos and modules to work through it at your own pace. There's also the bigger courses that I run in person online, that I personally run online. That's the Blank Canvas. That's an 8 weeks online program where we go quite deep in smaller groups. And my absolute favorite, which is unfortunately not available for everyone because at the moment I only run it in Australia, and that's my healing retreat. So there's one coming up in July. I absolutely love them. I absolutely love them because we go so deep and so meaningful. And I literally take a very, very small number of people on these retreats because it takes a lot to hold space for these journeys and for these retreats. And there's fire ceremonies, and it's really so much that happens at this retreat. It's 3.5 days over a lot of luxury, a lot of healing. And that is just, I just want them to be in a nice space. We found this really beautiful luxury location where we run it just on the Central Coast, about an hour north of Sydney. So it's just divine, just what happens there. And I also, this is rolling out as of the 1st of July, and there will be a membership. And as I called my movement lovingly after my first book, Loving Life After Loss, I decided to call my membership after my second book. And that is called Happy Healing, came out on the 2nd of the 2nd this year, 22. Yeah. So I thought that's just so perfect, 2222 for the second book.
Yes.
I so believe in numbers. And so there will be the membership that is called Happy Healing. And that is for group coaching calls. Yes, really a very, so many people say, I've done the retreats, I've done this, and I loved it. And it really changed my life. I just would love to have some ongoing support. So this will be literally feeding in from the retreats, courses that are run, but also from the DIY courses where people go like, what's next? They know that ongoing support and being in a space of others who've got the same mindset, the same, I do want to heal, I do want to love life after loss, and being in a space with others who get it, who've experienced this, who've walked that journey themselves is so valuable and so healthy. And I'm in that group every 2 weeks, running group coaching sessions with those who are in a membership. It also gives them, and a financial advantage for courses and retreats, etc. So there's a lot of value in this membership, and you're the first person that I'm sharing that with live on an interview. So we have not officially, nobody in Loving Life After Loss knows it yet, apart from my 3 moderators, and they literally only just found out 3 hours ago.
Yeah. So they will do by the time this episode is released. But I'm so grateful that you've just shared that with me, because, that's sorts of things that I've been thinking about. I do this wonderful podcast, but how can I add more value? How can I serve more people? What do they need? What do they, just adding that extra value and comfort and support to people. It's just so, so important. And, I can just feel the love that you are infusing every aspect, whether,
Thank you.
regardless
Thank you
of
so
the
much.
level that it's at. And I think that is so beautiful.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to go on and hear very shortly how people can get in touch with you or access all this information. Sure. But first, I would love to know, what is the best thing that has happened to you so far today?
Today? Or till today, you mean?
Oh, no, today, during the day. What's the best thing that's happened to you today or this week? However you want to take it.
A very big highlight for me was actually sharing the membership with my team of moderators today. It was really beautiful because they said the same thing that I felt, and it was so beautiful to hear it from them. They said, it's all coming together, Marie. It's literally connecting all the dots, the membership, and I'm really looking forward to holding space for people in there and actively doing something, because for me, it's just that step further that, to just really, and not just under quotation marks, because it is really important, but not just hold space for people, but really actively help them on their healing journey, because there's a lot of people that are still sitting on the sidelines and watching, still getting a lot out of it, but not feeling ready to actively decide to go on that healing journey. And I want to keep holding space for them until they're ready. It's really important.
Yes. We have a lot of people in the grief arena who do quietly sit on the sidelines, just watching and listening.
And that's okay.
And yes, that's very beautiful. And it's nice to be able to acknowledge them. And, we may not know who they are, but always grateful that you're listening to us and sharing our information. And that's great. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So if you have a moment in your life to date that makes you feel really, really proud, what would that moment be? Or what would that event be?
Oh, wow. I have goosebumps. It just came to me straight away. You will love this, because I know this will touch you so deeply, because you're a mom, you get it. It was about a year after Rob died, and it happened literally right here where I'm sitting now, because at the moment I'm sitting in my in my master bedroom. My mom was visiting and I had not moved my desk back downstairs. So it happened literally here in this room. And as I said, roughly about a year after Rob died. So the movement had only just started. And I had Flynn, my older son, so he was 11 at that time. And he walks up to me and says, Mum, I need to tell you something and I don't know how to say it. And I just felt the heaviness instantly of how important it was for him. And I just braced myself and I breathed into it. And I said, that's okay, Flynn, you can share with me whatever you want, you know. And I actually asked him permission to be able to share that in interviews because I found it so profound. And he said to me, I have the feeling that our life has sort of gotten better since Dad passed. And I remember how my heart dropped and I tried to keep a brave face. But he instantly followed up with, but it's not because he passed. It's because of what you made of it. And that to me, I could still cry now when I tell you that story. It was the biggest proof that I have chosen the right path and that my boys were fully on board with it and that Rob was fully on board with it. And I cannot put into words how much that meant to me that he said that, you know, really incredible, absolutely incredible. And that was like such a permission that what I did was right, you know.
That was such a brave thing for him to share with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was huge. One of my biggest gifts. They both are.
Well, yes, I'm feeling it. Okay. So we all have moments in our days where things are not going quite to plan and, you know, sometimes they can go a bit dark. So what do you do to pivot yourself out of them?
Music. Absolutely. I actually woke up like that this morning, not completely dark, but just a bit heavier and just you know, one of those meh moments when I woke up. My mum went back to Austria yesterday after being here for 3.5 weeks. And I just woke up and was like, oh, you know, I literally felt like that. And I thought, come on, Marie, you always teach it, do it. And I went through my phone, my favorite playlist, and I picked one song. And I listened to it twice, actually, because it made me so happy that I wanted to hear it again. And then I just kept the music playing. And it's an instant, you know how you can hear one song and it's an instant tearjerker, or you hear one song and you're instantly happy. And again, here are the choices that we have in life. Choices can often be so simple and have got such a huge effect on us. And music is one of them. Music always helps me. And the best thing is when it's music that actually makes me jump out of my chair and dance in the living room with my headphones on or with the music blaring, even better, you know. So I did that while I was brushing my teeth and had the happy song playing in my ears. And I was like, that was good. It changed my entire mood and it changed my entire day because that's how you start, you know. So I really love that.
Yeah. God, I love that. Key. Yes. And like you said, we can overcomplicate it. And I often, when I'm in my car in the morning, driving my short drive to work. And I often just blast like a really cool song that's on and I just turn the volume up. And when I hit work, I go.
I sometimes play German punk rock and it takes me back to my 20s and I'm like, oh my God.
Another interview.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what takeaways would you like to leave with our listeners today?
Tell you what my biggest takeaway was and still is from Rob's passing, and I really wish that it will have an impact on so many who listen to this right now. When you experience an adversity like that, a lot of people talk about do you keep asking yourself why? And I was so surprised when I was asked it the very first time that my response was like, no, I have not once asked myself the question why, because I don't believe in this happened to me. I still believe life is happening for me. It's really that simple. And it was not simple while I was going through it, believe me, but I still have that belief. And B, the most beautiful, what do I call that? I wanted to say epiphany, but it was so much more than that. It was so enlightening when I had this. The most beautiful enlightenment, I call it, was when I realized that this was all part of our journey, and even more so, it was all part of our soul contract. That was the soul contract that Rob and I signed before we came here. And this is my belief. And again, I do understand everybody's faith is different, everybody's belief is different, but this is my belief. And I know that was Rob's belief too. And that's what makes it so beautiful, that I all of a sudden understood, oh my goodness, this was all part of our contract. Rob passed for me to embark on this journey, and he's got my back, and he's preparing the path for me to walk on. And I know that for a fact because I feel him around me all the time going like, here, I'm opening this door for you. I'm opening that door for you. And I'm constantly on that journey of catching up with growing up, just stepping into those boots that he's putting there for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm owning this. I'm going to rock it. You know, it's just something that was the most beautiful moment for me to recognize that this is our soul contract. And I truly wish for people who listen to this to maybe look at it from that perspective and feel into it. Can you actually recognize the soul contract in this? Because that is the biggest gift that adversity has ever given me, that Rob could have ever given me. So thank you. Thank you for asking that question.
I truly, truly believe that as well, you know, and that has helped me. I like you, I never asked why. Never asked why.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yes. And yes. Oh my gosh.
I love it.
So
I'm so glad we connected.
Look, I know that you have to rush off and head off somewhere. So just let's finish off with how people can reach you. We're going to have it all in the episode notes that people can refer back to, but they're listening right here.
I'm going to make it super simple because everything connects through mariealessi.com. So my first name, last name.com. You have got all, and you can touch on that, but it's not that important. You'll find it on the website. It's absolutely, you know, you find literally everything there, and you can even book a chat with me if you want to talk to me directly. You can find the programs, the retreats, everything is on that website. So I think that makes it super simple.
Oh, Marie. You know, my heart, look, I'm beaming. I'm beaming because, you know, what an absolute it has been to speak to you and your boys. Oh my God. How are they doing? Very quickly, how are they doing?
They're doing really well, really well. We just had this most beautiful moment of connection a couple of nights ago. They were both laying in my bed, just cuddling up with me. We're having this chat, asking all these questions about Rob. We haven't had a moment like that for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute pleasure. And I took that moment to thank them, to support me on this path, and just to hold space for me on that journey as well. They are incredible, absolutely incredible. I'm so proud of them. I'm very biased.
Yeah, you can be. And that is why we call this podcast The Beautiful Side of Grief, because just listen to all the beautiful things that you've shared. So Marie, from my heart
thank you
to
so
yours,
much.
Thank you so very, very much for your time.
Oh, it was such a privilege. I am so honored to be connected to you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. I hope you got some real value from this episode. Let me know how I'm doing, or if there's a topic you'd like covered, by clicking on the Healing to Be You Gmail link or going to the Healing to Be You website. To get notified of new episodes, hit the subscribe button, and please share if you know of someone who could benefit from this episode. Until next time, be kind to you and take good care.